Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Blunder-Watch, your regular reminder that while pro esports players are very capable of unbelievable feats of dexterity and game sense, sometimes they whiff too. The Overwatch League has offered its fair share of out-of-this-world players, but what about the truly magical ones? The ones we remember for all the wrong reasons. With the Overwatch League's general health being called into question more and more and the future of the esport being thrown into the air, we figured now was a good time to dig out the blooper reels of old and remind you all of some of the straight up worst plays and fumbles from all of Overwatch esports. But hey, at least they tried, right? This is a relic of old from a time before the Overwatch League, if you can cast your mind that far back, when one man entered memedom by flying just a little too close to the sun. South Korean esports legend Esker was never supposed to play Tracer. Prior to OGN's Overwatch Apex Season 2, Esker was mostly known for playing picks like Cassidy, Mei and Soldier 76. But thanks to some rather terrible behaviour from his teammates necessitating the switch, the wider Overwatch world was gifted one of its first infamous misplays. It wasn't just this one instance that cemented this FPS great into Overwatch esports notoriety for all the wrong reasons, it was the consistency of his misfortune that ultimately did it. Cloud9 may have committed the original sin of competitive Overwatch, but Shanghai Dragons' Youngjin perfected it. Shortly after Youngjin assisted the Dragons in absolving their 0-42 loss streak, he stepped into the hallowed halls of legend, not for his undoubted talent, but for simply forgetting what game he was playing. And honestly, when you break it down, it becomes infinitely more forgivable, but no less funny. A dash of overtime situation, high pressure, and everyone trying to rapidly communicate, all served over a well-boiled plate of last-second absent-mindedness, and you've got yourself a perfectly cooked C9 ball drop. Jokes aside, more obvious stuff like playing the objective can clearly be taken for granted when the game gets hectic. And you know you have definitely gone chasing after the enemy team when you really should have stayed put on the objective. We've all seen our fair share of C9s, and they really can happen to anyone, but Youngjin's earns a special place as the single worst example in Overwatch League history. Overwatch League fans love a good toilet bowl. However, to summon one, fans must first make a sacrifice to the porcelain god, Jerry. To set our scene, Boston Uprising are going up against Houston Outlaws when the goof to end all goofs occurs. While it is technically a forced error, Jerry's attempting to avoid the enemy Diva bomb, but instead of ducking into cover, Jerry takes a long walk off the short end of Blizzard World, taking himself out of the game completely. Hilarious, yes. Relatable, absolutely. Disastrous for Boston, oh my yes. His death meant Boston had 0 damage for the rest of the fight. Had Jerry lived, Boston had a great shot at taking Blizzard World and taking the series 3-0. And look, anything can happen on LAN, and this series went to a strange but beautiful map 7, where the Uprising ultimately managed to narrowly surpass the Outlaws in the 23rd minute. So despite Jerry's faux pas, all's well that ends well. Hanbin rarely missteps. And arguably, this isn't even really his fault, but it's too unique of a fumble to not add it to this list. Nailing a self-destruct kill in modern Overwatch is becoming increasingly difficult as players perfect their rotations and with so much potential protection around, but the ultimate can still provide value. On a game type like Control, where time is incredibly fleeting, if you can stall the enemy for even a few seconds, it can snowball into a sizable control percentage for your team. So not only does this play quite literally throw one of those resources in the trash, it does so in spectacular fashion, launching his nuke and himself through a sim teleporter and down into the pit below, losing any and all value he could possibly have gained. Look, it wasn't his fault, but that doesn't make it any less funny. This just in, the esports unilateral coalition of competitiveness has just charged Assassin with 1 count of egregious use of an ultimate and 1 count of reckless endangerment in a public setting. If you don't remember this one, it's likely this missed EMP would not have been the catalyst to an 0-3 comeback against the Toronto Defiant, but the Justice needed all hands on deck to attempt to gain some momentum for their rather woeful season. And, well, it just didn't happen, did it? And if we're frank, Assassin's overall Sombra play that season was something magical, as some might say, one of the Sombra players of all time. If found guilty, Assassin's whiffed ultimate may go down as one of the worst players in Overwatch League history. We at GGRecon will not be updating this story as it develops. Okay, so to be fair, Overwatch League commentator and former professional player Custer makes this clip gold, but Jimmy has got some explaining to do. With a numbers advantage, Jimmy attempts a flank towards the tail end of Dorado's second point. However, what ensues is nearly 30 seconds of uncontested tomfoolery as Jimmy not only goes on a Spider-Pine-esque flank but fails to get anything done. No pressure, no presence, and as Custer points out, terrible positioning. While Jimmy had a brief stint recently as a formidable hit scan threat in APAC this season, no one escapes their past. This quietly hidden gem from Jimmy is among some of our favourite bad players in Overwatch esports. It is inarguable that Violet is one of the greatest Overwatch players of all time, but it's also inarguable that this is one of the most blatant displays of pure, unadulterated hubris the Overwatch League has ever seen. Not only is it on a map that attacking teams frequently take an initial peek with Widowmaker, not only is it in the 2021 Overwatch League playoffs, but the risk-reward here just does not add up. Is the extra ultimate charge worth trading your composition's main source of healing? Is the damage potential really worth binning the very first team fight? Violet still to this day does not shy away from making bold and exciting plays. It's the cornerstone he has built his career on, but every so often, the bloodlust just sent him over the edge. And if you show hubris in Overwatch, chances are the game, or more specifically the other team, will smack you for it. So there you go, just a few of our favourite best worst moments in Overwatch esports history. Have we missed a moment that you can't believe hasn't made the list? What's the biggest blunder you've ever seen in the Overwatch League? Let us know down in the comments, and if you want some more Overwatch League lists like this, check out this video, where we talk about some of the greatest moments in Overwatch League history.